Temba'S miracle, a tale of faith and perseverance. In a small, vibrant village nestled in the heart of Africa, there lived a man named Temba. His village, called Nyumbani, was surrounded by vast fields of golden maize, tall trees that whispered with the winds, and a river that wound its way through the land like a lifeline. The people of Nyumbani were kind-hearted, living simple lives, working the land, raising families, and seeking peace in the arms of nature. Temba was known throughout the village for his humble heart and tireless work ethic. He was a farmer like many others, but his crops never seemed to grow as bountiful as the others. Year after year, the soil in his field was stubborn. His maize grew thin, his beans sparse, and the cassava hardly yielded enough to feed his family. Though he worked day and night, the harvest never quite filled his granary. Temba didn't complain. He believed that everything was part of God's plan, and in the face of his struggles, he always found solace in prayer. God, if it is your will, I will endure. Give me strength to face each day, and I trust you will guide my hands, he would say with reverence, even as the seasons passed, one after another. One rainy season, a great drought struck the land. The skies, once generous with their rains, seemed to close up, and the ground hardened beneath the sun's unforgiving gaze. Rivers and streams that once danced through the land began to shrink, leaving cracked earth and parched fields. The villagers of Nyumbani were in despair. Crops failed everywhere, and the food stores were dwindling. As the drought worsened, Temba'S neighbors began to lose hope. Some began to abandon their fields, moving to distant towns in search of work, while others began to question why God had allowed such hardship to befall them. But Temba remained steadfast. He prayed even more fervently, going to the river each morning to pour libations of water in gratitude for the life-giving force of the earth. Even in times of hardship, he would say, God's grace is still with us. He is our provider. One night, after an especially difficult day, Temba had a dream. In his dream, he saw a mighty lion walking towards him, its golden mane gleaming under the light of the moon. The lion stopped before him, its eyes full of wisdom, and spoke in a voice that seemed to echo through his very soul. Temba, do not fear the drought, the lion said, for in the deepest of trials, my grace is most abundant. In the morning, take your hoe and walk to the farthest end of your field, where the earth is hardest and dry. There you will find the seeds of your blessing. Temba woke up startled, his heart pounding. He had never seen such a dream, but he knew that God's grace had visited him in the form of the lion. The next morning, he did as he had been instructed. He walked to the farthest corner of his field, where the soil had cracked like an old man's skin. He knelt, offering a prayer of trust, then began to dig into the earth. As he worked, the ground beneath his hands shifted, and he felt a warmth, like the embrace of a long-lost friend. To his astonishment, the earth yielded to his efforts. Beneath the hardened soil, he discovered rich, dark earth, moist and fertile. He planted the seeds of maize, beans, and cassava into this patch of land, believing that God's favor was upon him. The days that followed were a miracle. Though the drought persisted, Temba'S crops began to grow in that corner of his field. The maize stalks stood tall and proud, the beans flourished with bright green leaves, and the cassava spread its roots deep into the earth as though nourished by a hidden spring. The other villagers were astonished. They came to see Temba'S miracle for themselves. What magic is this, Temba? they asked in wonder. Temba smiled and replied, "It is no magic, my friends. It is the grace of God. When we trust, even in the darkest of times, He provides. I did not give up. I prayed, and He led me to where the harvest was waiting." As the drought continued, Temba'S field became the only one in the village to yield an abundant harvest. The villagers, inspired by Temba'S faith, began to follow his example. They returned to their fields, dug deeper, and trusted more in God's provision. Slowly, the land began to heal, and the rains returned. The harvest across Nyumbani flourished, but it was Temba'S land that served as a testament to the power of God's grace. Years later, when Temba had grown old and the village had prospered, the story of his faith was told to every child born in Nyumbani. The people would say, "When times are hard, remember Temba, and remember the grace that carried him through. For when God's favor rests upon you, nothing is impossible." And so, in the village of Nyumbani, the people learned that even in the driest seasons, when all hope seemed lost, God's favor and grace could turn the hardest earth into a place of abundance. All they needed was faith, trust, and the willingness to endure.
Thank you for watching. Kindly like, comment, and subscribe. Click on the notification bell so you can be alerted anytime a new video is uploaded. And please, don't forget, share and be a blessing to someone. God richly bless you. Shalom.